Hi, my name is Sophie Dano, and today I'll be demonstrating a 6-minute walk test. With me I have my patient/subject, Teddy. How are you doing today, Ted?
I'm good.
So before we begin our 6-minute walk test, I'm going to ask you a few pre-health screen questions, okay? So number one, have you had any caffeine today?
No.
Are you currently on any medications?
No.
Are you well rested? And when was the last time you exercised?
Yesterday.
And are you currently feeling ill or have any recent injuries that could affect your physical performance? Okay. Thank you for answering these questions. We asked these questions beforehand to check and see if there are any variables that could impact our test results, especially since we're taking blood pressure and heart rate values throughout the test, before and after. So before we start, I'd like to fill out this health screening sheet called a PAR-Q that gives us some information on your health. After you fill this PAR-Q, I'd like you to take a look at this informed consent sheet and read it over and sign if you feel comfortable and if you're ready to begin. We want you as the subject to feel as comfortable as possible, and these two papers help to not only inform you, but also us as the facilitators if there's anything that we need to be aware of, okay? So I'm going to give you the PAR-Q right here, and if you could just fill it out, that would be great. So Teddy has signed his informed consent form, and he's also filled out his PAR-Q. And I'd also like to mention that we measure Teddy's height and weight off camera in a more appropriate setting with the right equipment. And so now we're just going to kind of describe to Teddy the test, what we're going to do and what he can expect from it. So this is a 6-minute walk test. The test measures the distance that you can walk in 6 minutes between two cones, which are 100 feet apart or also 30 meters. Heart rate, blood pressure, and oxygen saturation are measured before and after the test in a seated chair. You also gauge your rate of perceived exertion and dyspnea on Borg RPE scales that I have available here. You will inform me of your RPE before and after the test as well. I will show you how to perform the test here shortly, but remember this is a walk test. It's try to jog or run, okay? Because it's just supposed to be walking. In other words, try to keep one foot in contact with the ground at all times during the test, and when you are ready, you can step up to the cone, and when I say ready, go, you can go ahead and go. And you will walk back and forth between the cones for 6 minutes. I will give you verbal cues for how much time you have left, and when time is up, stay put and I will come to you. Any questions about how the test will go? Okay. I will give you some time beforehand to do some dynamic stretches to get you warmed up for the test before you start. The main purpose of this test is to estimate your fitness level and can be very useful in developing exercise prescriptions for cardiac, pulmonary, and cancer rehabilitation. While you might not be in either of those rehabilitation programs, that's quite all right. This will just be a good way to gauge your fitness capacity. And then we will also terminate the test for your own health and safety if you exhibit any of the following: any chest pain, intolerable dyspnea, leg cramps, staggering, a pale or ashen appearance, or a very low SP2 from 80 to 85%, okay? So now I'm going to talk briefly about some of the limitations and benefits of a 6-minute walk test and some of the other field tests that could be compared to it. So a 6-minute walk test, there are a few limitations for this test. This is not the best test for patients who are very high-performing, healthy individuals. This test also requires 100 feet or 60 meters of a long hallway to track to execute. Finding the right space for this test can be tricky, and sometimes not everyone has the space to do so. It's also not the best to measure true functional capacity. Now, there are a lot of benefits to this test. On the other hand, the 6-minute walk test has been shown to improve dyspnea. It is a good and reliable measure of exercise capacity for those who do have chronic lung disease. It is also a relatively easy test to perform and is relatively inexpensive. And now, comparing it to a few other tests that are kind of similar to it, we have the Rockport 1-mile walk test and the Queens College or McArdle step test. Both of them kind of deal with walking, and both benefits for each test are that it's inexpensive. You're able to measure multiple patients and subjects at one time, and it's very easy to administer. For the Rockport 1-mile test, some limitations are that it could be a maximum test for some individuals and not for others, so it might be inconsistent across the board. You can't use it for everyone. And also, heart rate and blood pressure are not monitored during the test, which are important vital signs to be taken so that we can measure VO2 or estimated VO2 in the future. So for the Queens College or McArdle test, it's a step test, and so not everyone is super comfortable doing a step test. Sometimes the step can be too high for people, or if you have knee problems or knee issues, it can be very challenging to do so. So that's why a lot of people will gravitate towards the 6-minute walk test, because it's a test that's good for across the board. A lot of different people can do it and have the same results. We are now going to take Teddy's vital signs before we begin the 6-minute walk test. So I'm going to take Teddy's heart rate, his blood pressure, and I'm also going to take his oxygen saturation using a pulse oximeter. We're also going to rate his level of shortness of breath using the dyspnea scale. So Teddy, on this scale, it goes from 0 to 10, 0 being nothing at all, and 10 being maximal. So how would you grade your level of shortness of breath just sitting here right now?
0.
Have you grade your level of fatigue using the Borg RPE scale. So this goes from 6 to 20, 6 being no exertion at all, and 20 being maximal effort. So just sitting here in your chair, what would you rate your level of fatigue?
6.
Okay. Write this down on a sheet of paper for Teddy. And then we are going to take his oxygen saturation using this pulse oximeter. So Teddy, if I can see one of your fingers. We'll let that measure his SpO2 real fast. So Teddy's SpO2 was 97. We're going to write that down so we can compare that to his post-test results. And now we're going to take Teddy's heart rate, okay? Go ahead. So Teddy's heart rate was about 70. So I'm going to write that down, then I'm going to come back and I'm going to take Teddy's blood pressure. Sleeve up a little bit and then put your arm right through. Was 118 over 62. So now we've taken Teddy's vital signs and we are going to let him take some time to stretch. We're going to do some dynamic stretches and then I'll show you how we're going to do the 6-minute walk test, specifically how we're going to go around the cones, okay? So if you want to follow me over here, we can do your stretching over here by the cones.
Will do.
So now I'm going to show you how to walk around the cones, okay? So we're going to walk from this cone all the way down there to that other cone. So when you're walking, you're just kind of walking at a brisk pace and you're going to kind of pivot around the cone like this, okay? And you're going to go back and forth for 6 minutes listening to the verbal cues that I give you, okay? Are you feel ready and prepared for the test?
Yes.
So the object of this test is just walk as far as possible for 6 minutes. You will walk around the cones. 6 minutes is a long time to walk, so you'll be exerting yourself. You will probably get out of breath or become exhausted. You are permitted to slow down, to stop, and to rest as necessary. You may lean against the wall while resting, but resume walking as soon as you're able. Remember that the object is to walk as far as possible for 6 minutes, but don't run or jog. Start now or whenever you are ready. Yes. You are doing well. You have 5 minutes to go. Keep up the good work. You have 4 minutes to go. You are doing well. You are halfway done. Keep up the good work. You have only 2 minutes left. You are doing well. You have only 1 minute to go. In a moment, I'm going to tell you to stop. When I do, just stop where you are and I will come to you. Stop. So now we're going to take Teddy's post-test vital signs real fast. So Teddy, please grade your level of shortness of breath with the B scale, 0 to 10, being 0, nothing at all, and 10 being maximal.
1.
And then please grade your level of fatigue using the scale, 6 being no exertion at all, and 20 maximum exertion.
7.
Go, go, go. So now I'm going to take your oxygen saturation again. Right there. At the same time, I'm going to take your pulse, all right? Got your pulse to be about 85. Let's check. And your oxygen saturation is 95. And last step we're going to do is I'm going to take your blood pressure again real fast, okay? I got 140 over 66. So now that Teddy has finished his 6-minute walk test, we have done his predicted VO2 max calculations. This is the equation that we used and some of the values. And we got his VO2, estimated VO2 to be 20.83. Now this is very low, but also we need to keep in mind that Teddy is a healthy, non-chronic lung disease patient. And this is the 6-minute walk test is designed for chronic lung disease patients and those who aren't necessarily healthy individuals. And so one of the limitations of the 6-minute walk test was that it's not intended for healthy individuals. So that's something to keep in mind with Teddy's result. So some ways that Teddy can improve his exercise capacity, which engage in more endurance and strength training or resistance exercises, which can help to boost up his exercise capacity, which could then in turn increase his predicted or estimated VO2 in turn. So then instead, next time he does this test, if he increases his exercise intensity and duration, his predicted and estimated VO2 max could indeed be a little bit higher and more in range with his age predicted VO2 max. So yeah, so thank you, Teddy, for participating in the 6-minute walk test. Yeah, thank you for your time.